to understand what's really creating this issue for most people. It's not going to be for everybody, but for most people, we need to understand how the body creates energy. It has multiple ways to do this, and it really likes to use cellular respiration, which includes some oxidation steps, and it can also use some fermentation. But this is the preferred method of the body to create energy. It can create a lot more energy doing this method than it can with this method. But to do this, the body needs oxygen. So when oxygen is not available at those tissue levels for those cells to create energy and such, when there's not enough oxygen, that's when the body will use this fermentation process. So when the body creates energy through cellular respiration, the byproduct or the exhaust of that process is carbon dioxide. So we just exhale carbon dioxide. So when that exhaust from this process takes place, we just breathe out, and that's how we get rid of that CO2. But the byproduct or the exhaust really from creating energy through fermentation is lactic acid. The body can take lactic acid and it can kind of convert it back to glucose and then use that as a fuel source. So that's kind of something that it has to do to deal with the lactic acid, where with this CO2 we just kind of breathe it out and then it's removed. This method is really to be used in just short little spurts, to create energy in an urgent situation. Maybe you're doing a very intense exercise and your cells are running out of oxygen, so they're like, oh, we're just going to switch over to this fermentation, and then it creates lactic acid as that byproduct, and that's why those muscles can really start to hurt as that lactic acid accumulates, and then the person stops doing that type of exercise for a few minutes, and the lactic acid can dissipate again, and then they can go and do more of that exercise. But we're going to talk about some things in this video that help us understand that sometimes this fermentation process of creating energy is not being used for short spurts. There's situations in the body where that might be all the body has to do. Well, this is what I got, so I'm going to create energy any way that I can. And when that's the case, then we can have an accumulation of this lactic acid. And as that lactic acid accumulates in the tissues, then it's basically going to be like frying the nerve endings and creating a lot of pain that way. So when it's not just using it for these short spurts, it's using this most of the time. You can also see that in this way of creating energy, the body can create like 19 times more energy from the same fuel source as it can from this. So that may also explain why we see so much chronic fatigue syndrome associated with this fibromyalgia type issue. If a person is stuck making their energy this way, not only are they creating a lot more lactic acid that's going to accumulate if the body can't get rid of it, but they're also creating a lot less energy because it's just not as efficient.